What's up, everybody? Welcome back to The Vibe. This is a new look for us. This is our first recording that we are doing not in person. And our guest today is DJ GString, and she joins us from Chicago. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So we'll start with the name GString, because I'm sure a lot of people they see this headline are going to be wondering, well, what's up with that name? So can you tell us how that came about?
Oh man, yeah. So like, you're the second radio station or podcast that's asked me that. So here's where it came from. I DJ'd like since I was like 14, right? So in high school, I like ventured out and started DJing. I had no DJ name, and one of my good friends at the time was like, "I wear G-strings all the time." They're like, let's call you G-string. So that was like my whole like name in high school. So I kept it, and it's been working well, I think. I don't know. Some radio stations won't air my name because they think it's too sexual, but I'm like, whatever. It's okay. So sometimes they might see me as like DJ G, which is fine. It's cool, either one.
Yeah, right on. So you've been DJing since you were 14. I've done a little bit of reading up on you, and it started with you recording music on cassettes, correct? Yeah. That you hear on the radio, and then kind of mixing them together. So go ahead and tell me how, your whole DJ career got started.
Yeah, I mean, I've always had this weird passion for music, and I think I fell in love with music entirely from my parents. Like, they're disco babies, right? Obviously, if you know my real name, it's like all, kind of like that era. Yeah. But so I decided that like I wanted to do something different. And I was doing cassettes because my sister was in cheerleading, and they needed to have like those crazy, how those cheerleaders have that bash in song. So I was like, I could do it. And I didn't have equipment back then. I was young, right? So I started doing that. And then when I turned 18, I decided, well, I'm going to get some equipment and really do this, right? So I got the equipment, and then I was given an opportunity to DJ at a youth club in Chicago when there used to be those things called juice bars, right? So,
yeah.
But actually it had alcohol too. So it was actually pretty cool. So then I DJ'd for them for years, and that kind of took off kind of my DJ career. That's how I started.
Okay, and this was at the age of 14 is when you kind of first got into it. So who did you kind of look up to when you were coming up as a DJ?
Yeah, so like I always say this, and I tag him on Instagram all the time. Bad Boy Bill, he's in Chicago. Okay. He was my jam. He still is my jam. That man, he mixes on vinyl still. Like he doesn't do the sync garbage a lot of the other DJs are doing. And then DJ Laura B, female DJ. She was on B96. In Chicago for a long time. And then I've actually had the privilege of DJing with Terry Bristol. She's like the sweetest person ever. And then her partner, Psycho Bitch, I don't know if I can say that, but she's, I like those guys, like I've DJed with them. So super cool. So those are some of the people I look up to in my city. Outside of my city, totally in love with Cascade, like his music and his DJ style is cool because he plays all of his music, but I love his productions of his songs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm also a huge fan of Cascade. That's the name that correlated with me. I was able to see one of his live performances, and definitely he knows how to put on a show, for sure. Super talented, and definitely someone who I could get behind as being like someone to look up to when it comes to that stuff. So let's see. So born and raised in Chicago, were you in the heart of the city, or were you kind of in the suburban area?
Suburbs, right? So I actually went to college in the city for 4 years. So I did the whole Chicago thing, and then I'm in the far south suburbs. Okay. So got a family, not living in the city, want to have a little quiet spot, but I'm actually in the city almost every day. So. Oh,
okay, gotcha. And I know you're a resident DJ at some venues in Chicago. Do you want to touch base on those and how that kind of came about?
Yeah, so that was a couple years ago as far as being a resident DJ. So there's a couple things that have happened. I took a break from DJing to start my band Digging for Julie. So we had one of our songs in an indie film, so that was pretty cool. And then we did a lot of Midwest tours. So we played a lot of big venues, like Mojo's was one of them. Okay. What was the other one? There's a couple. There's a whole list on that website. So I took a break because I wanted to do a different project. Mm-hmm. So my DJ stuff just stopped. I was like, I'm done. So I cut that off probably about maybe I don't know, 3 years ago or something like that. So I was a resident DJ at some of the big upcoming clubs. One of them was Soundbar on their Sunday nights. They opened, and then I was a resident on their Sunday nights, which was pretty cool. I've been a guest DJ at Zentra. I was a resident Circuit. I've worked at Vertigo, Lava Room. Like there's a whole list of places. But yeah, I'm not a resident right now. I'm actually kind of taking a comeback, right? So in October, I decided to really come back hard. And then the pandemic happened. So I've had some opportunities. I actually had some festivals lined up this year, super small ones in Chicago, some in the burbs. Obviously, those are dead, right?
Yeah.
And then I decided that when I was going to do my comeback, I was going to make music. So that's when I came back and started making more dance music. And I actually made, dance music before I left, but it was just not, it wasn't mature enough yet. I was better at thrashing on the guitar, bass, because I play like a lot of instruments. I play keys, bass, guitar, violin. I play a lot.
Nice.
Yeah. So.
Sorry, my dog's got his squeaker toy.
Oh, it's okay. My dog sounds scared. So I'm waiting for him to start prancing like a maniac. So I'm not a resident yet. We're looking into that in regards to when everything gets better. Right now, we're looking at virtual festivals to try to get me in some lineups.
Sure.
And a lot of radio plays. So I've done some mixes. Like one of my recent ones was Broke FM. I've done some live streams. And then really my focus during this downtime is just creating new tracks. My goal is to make a new song every month.
Nice.
My next one comes out in September, so.
Yeah, and we can touch on the two songs that you have released. One is called These Feelings, which I heard, which once I heard it, it was like one of those that I just couldn't get out of my head, you know?
Nice.
Like it's got a very catchy beat, and you did the vocals on it, right?
The whole thing.
The whole thing. Yeah, so that one was really good. And then is it Tiloi or are you?
It's totally.
It's totally? Okay, gotcha.
It's take it or leave it. It's just
take it, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which again, did you do vocals on that as well?
All of it.
Yeah? Okay, good. Two really good tracks. And I mean, so this is your first time really, is this your first time like kind of putting yourself out there in terms of like doing everything and vocals and stuff? Or something you kind of dabbled on?
Yeah, I mean, so I dabbled. So like DJ GString has been like, I had an album called Truth Behold a long time ago. So I did all the vocals on that one. You can't find it anymore. I tried. It was online. You might be able to find it. And that was like, that's why I was saying like I wasn't mature enough yet and like didn't have like the style down for the type of music I wanted to create. And the band kind of helped me grow that. It was because I was a lead singer in the band and I played bass. So during my comeback, I decided that, I was going to do it all. I do want to partner, like right now I'm partnering with this other DJ and producer from Argentina called Claudio. We're going to be doing a techno song together. So he's already done like the percussion and drum lines and stuff and sent it to me, and I'm going to be doing everything else. But as far as singers, I've reached out to a couple singers I've liked. But people are, I mean, I don't know, maybe they think it's weird to collaborate, or maybe it's like I'm not a big name yet, they don't want to, and that's like fine, like I'm getting there, because my fan base is growing pretty good. But yeah, I think my focus is if I'm comfortable doing the vocals, I love singing, I love writing the lyrics, I love doing all of it. I would love to collaborate with another artist though, which is kind of my next step with Claudio on the techno track. Okay,
gotcha. Well, that's really awesome. I look forward to hearing that. You said the next song's coming out in September?
Yeah, that's not going to be the techno. The techno's going to be in December. The next song in September is called Ain't Nobody.
Okay.
It's like a Euro style. You ever heard Gigi Agostino?
The name sounds familiar, but I don't think I've heard his music.
Yeah, he also is like an old Euro guy that I really loved back in the day. It's kind of turned into that style just by accident. I was just playing with a groove and I was like, wow, I really like this. So yeah, that's coming out September 25th.
Okay. Gotcha. Nice. So definitely be on the lookout for that. Now, as far as like you're because you're obviously passionate about music. You're definitely electro style. What kind of brought about the passion for electronic, and why have you kind of built your sound around that? What kind of inspired you there?
So what's interesting is, so I was like a huge, like basically my passion for music came from disco, and then in high school, Nirvana. That's where the whole thrashing on guitar came into play. Love Nirvana, my favorite, or Soundgarden. Those are like amazing artists, obviously. But so the electric style kind of came from when I started hearing some of the mixes that like I don't know if you know the names, but Too Cool Chris or Mix and Mark, and even Bad Boy Bill was doing back then. Bad Boy was doing like some crazy house mixes, which was awesome.
Mhm.
But then Too Cool Chris was doing like these Euro pop songs, and then they started mixing pop music before it became mainstream. So like I think it's funny that now mainstream artists have like dance pop songs. This was happening way before it was mainstream, and that made me fall in love with music significantly because I love pop music. And I decided that I've kind of married my style with those three genres, like dance, pop, and house. So yeah, that kind of made me fall in love with music, just listening to other DJs and their style of music, and just really liking what they were selecting.
Gotcha. Yeah, and it's crazy to think that two completely different styles can mash up and sound like they were meant to be, right? Like, I think that's what I really love about DJs in particular, especially ones that use the core roots of actually mixing songs together, to be able to create something completely new, and it just seems seamless. Now, when you're DJing, are there a couple songs that you mix together that you would mind like sharing, that just kind of work well together and kind of go off on the dance floor?
Yeah, I love Michael Jackson. I am a mess. Like, so when I do live streams, I'm not playing any Michael Jackson because I love mixing Michael Jackson remixes. Obviously, I'm in love with Billie Jean, this remix I have. I have two versions that I'm really in love with, and I try not to mix them. But so there's a pop mix of Justin Timberlake's song, what is it called? I don't remember the name. I actually have it on one of my live streams, and I think I did it on Broke FM actually, because I just couldn't help myself. But those two really go well together. I actually did a Kanye West song, Lockdown, with a disco track. My favorite mixes are probably Brighter Days, it's house, with The Percolator. Those two, like, if I'm not in the mood to mix, I'll play some of my old school sets, like the songs I love mixing together, even though people have heard them a million times. Then I'll get in the mood to mix. So those are kind of my jams. Okay, gotcha. Right on. Now, do you remember like your first like big show that you played and where that was at? It was terrible. Well, okay, so I've had a couple shows. I'm gonna go with the first club gig. Okay. It was called The Scene. The booking promoter was Al Cisneros. I'm still friends with him to this day. He gave me an opportunity to kind of get out there. And what's funny is I gave him my mix CD. He's like, it sucks. It's like I couldn't blend, right? I couldn't blend. Yeah. But it's like the thing that made me want to hire you was you were a female, and your song selection was amazing. Like it just was every song would just make the room dance. Yeah. So he gave me a chance. So I was considered a slammer, and I don't know if you know that term. So it's those DJs that play a song and slam to the next for a long time. And I actually spun with this DJ called DJ Chicago back then. And I don't know if he liked me or not. I've seen him. He actually lives closer to me now. I've seen him in the stores and stuff, and we've chatted. I think he's okay. But I think he was kind of like how I feel about some young DJs now. Like, I can't believe this DJ's here taking up one spot, and she sucks. So he actually helped me a little bit, because I think he probably was tired of hearing me slam songs. So he showed me some stuff, and then I just really started dedicating the hell out of my time. And I started with CDs. That was the other thing. He was vinyl. DJs back then hated CD DJs, hated them. Okay. So I did CDs. So I had different selection of music. But he taught me some cool stuff. I really am blessed about that. Cool guy, even though he probably maybe liked working with me part-time. He's cool now. I mean, we were so young back then. And then I decided to get vinyl too. I was like, listen, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to go back to the roots and like try to learn vinyl, which was, vinyl is challenging. So I don't know if you've ever played on turntables, but vinyl, you kind of have to know where the lines are. You have to know if you're going to be scratching. So I kind of took some time since I was already in the club, I'm like, well, people liked what I was playing too. They didn't care about me fucking up and mixing like that. Right. So they liked what I was playing. So I decided to make it better. And then over the course of maybe 6 months, I could blend, I could loop, I could do vinyl. I just really basically lived in my bedroom DJing and trying to get better. Yeah, nice. That's very cool.
I never even would have thought that CDs would have been like a thing while DJing, because I always thought that it was, vinyl, but I never even thought that it could be something like CDs, which is crazy. But very, very cool. So how did that work back in the day? If you got some guy doing vinyl, how does that differ when you walk up there with a bunch of CDs? Because I'm sure the equipment needed to be different, right? So what exactly were you using? Was it just, I don't even know, like what.
Oh, well, let me educate you. So obviously the DJ equipment, they had CDs. So like Pioneers, you see the Pioneer decks that all the DJs use now.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
The CD decks were very similar. There's a slot on the side, put a CD in, you have the spin wheel, you have the tempo bar, you have all the buttons. Very similar, less buttons, obviously. So the clubs would have the vinyl set, and then they were called CDJs at the time. So yeah, it wasn't that complicated, because it was basically bars and clubs would typically have a 4-deck set, and if they didn't, and you were a vinyl DJ, well, you had to suck it up, Buttercup, and get CDs, because they weren't going to let you bring your stuff in. So
that's crazy.
Yeah.
So how much has the scene changed from your perspective, in terms of where it was to where it is now? Because the disco was huge, obviously, but the specifically EDM scene started out small, in my opinion, and then now I believe it's grown exponentially. How is it from your perspective?
So there's two things about that. I try not to sound like a douchebag when I say the second part. So the first part is that back then it was harder for female DJs to get in. It was and it's pretty dominated by men right now still, but you do see some celebrity female DJs, power to them, love it. But back then, like I mentioned, like 3 DJs in Chicago, they weren't well known. You probably don't even know their names, right? Laura B, maybe Terry Bristol, because she did that Madonna song. And then the DJ Psycho Bitch. So like back then it was hard to get into clubs and DJ because you were female. Mm-hmm. So you had to know somebody. Luckily, I knew a lot of people. They knew me from where I've spun at. I knew a lot of people because I would spend a crap ton of money at a company that did the music software and the music hardware and stuff. And I know the owner, so I became close with him. His family, cool guy. His name is Sharon. So he helped me too. But if you didn't know anybody, it was challenging. The second, so that was one. So that's changed now because clubs and venues don't care if you're male or female. They just want to know, are you popular? Do you play good stuff? Are you going to be a pain in the butt, or are you going to be easygoing? Sweet. Yeah. Then they'll hire you. And are you obviously cost effective?
Yeah.
But the one thing that I think shocked me the most coming back, so I'm like that old school DJ, right? I don't use sync. I don't program, my BPMs in the software. I've done everything all manual because we didn't have software back then. So coming back to the scene, I'm like shocked, right? So when I came back in October, I was already DJing before October too, didn't just come out publicly. I was making music and mixes. So I have a couple mixes from 2013, 12, 15, you name it. But I wasn't like invested again.
Yeah.
So coming back, I looked at all the hardware that they have because I thought, I have some cool hardware. I'm like, oh my God, I have to upgrade all my stuff, like everything, computer, the software, the deck. I had to upgrade all my stuff because I would never be able to compete. And that was my biggest challenge. Even now to this day, like I'm not a Pioneer girl. I've never been, or Rain. Those were always in the clubs when I DJ'd. I used it. Everybody uses Pioneers now. I'm a Newmark girl. I've always been a Newmark girl. And it's funny, as I talked to Newmark on Instagram, and they were like, that's awesome. Because I told them, I said, once I get on big stages, I'm gonna request that I use my Newmark stuff because I really like Newmark. I love how the tempos are on certain sides. But anyway, so when I came back, I think the equipment scared the hell out of me.
Yeah.
And then I got a new set, and I was like, there's a lot of buttons. like, why is there so many damn buttons, right? So I'm like, what does this do? And I like fell in love with it. I was like, okay. I'm not going to use sync because I'm anti-sync unless I'm doing more than 2 tracks at a time because it's easier, right? And plus my deck is a 4-channel deck, but it's not like inputs are, you have to press a button. So you don't have 4 tempos. So it's hard to do that.
Yeah.
So I learned the buttons and stuff and I was like, this is awesome. This is sick, right? So I've done some crazy cool stuff mixing. And when I do live streams and stuff, I get a lot of people are like, what is she doing, right? So like, I'm a massive looper. I love looping on the fly, putting samples in. I love doing live mashups that happen on accident. Songs I've never mixed before, I can just go in and just do them. So I like the new technology. The only problem I have is that it enables anybody to be a DJ. Because you can, like, if you see a lot of these DJs, especially the celebrities, and more power to them, you've earned it, but they're not spinning anymore. They're turning knobs. Right. They're dancing, which is cool. I can dance and DJ at the same time, right? Yeah. And they're, and I'm like, man, like, I remember being behind the DJ booth back then with all these DJs getting ready to switch over their stuff and, checking in with you, like, how many seconds you got, and like that hustle is gone because all you have is a USB drive. Right. Plug it in. Right. Okay. Right. And then that's like the energy I miss. So I feel like it's pros and cons on how it's changed over the course of time.
Yeah. No, and being kind of born in the new age is I fell in love with EDM around 2011, and I've been doing my history. I've learned where it came from and how it's progressed over the years. But from when I started, even up until now, I will watch these DJs because it is a performance too. But to really look at what they are doing up there, and I like the live streams because you can kind of get a sense of, okay, what exactly knobs are they twisting, and are they really doing anything, Mm-hmm. And I'm not a DJ myself, but knowing DJs as friends, I kind of know the backstory of how easy the technology has made DJing, like you referenced.
Yeah.
But I definitely have a lot more respect for the OGs who can do it with vinyl and CDs and adding that extra element to it, and then kind of giving yourself that sense of, you can mess up, but that also adds to the performance, in my opinion. Because a lot of people, if you're not listening for it, you're not going to hear it. But you as the DJ, obviously, will know. But I don't know. That's just me. I definitely would prefer the DJ to be more in control of everything that's going on. You know what I mean? Instead of letting technology kind of take the reins and just making it perfect and not as there's a certain word I'm looking for, but I can't pinpoint it right now. But basically, I like the added element of a chance for there to be a mistake. And like you said, there can be times where you accidentally mix something and you're like, well, this actually works. I'm going to go with this. Yeah. Which is awesome as well. But I definitely hold those artists who can do that in an upper echelon because they definitely deserve it. And that's where it started. The technology is great, but once it kind of takes over, that's when it's like, who's really in control here? And but that's just my 2 cents. And I'm sure you kind of feel the same way coming from the OG. But let's kind of move into the live music aspect. So have you been to any Chicago music festivals or played any music festivals?
They're dead right now, so no.
Yeah. I mean, obviously right now, but like in the past, have you been to, Lala or North Coast?
Absolutely. Yeah, I've been to Lala not as an artist, but I've experienced Lala as a whole, which is cool. But I did it before the EDM scene took over Lala, right? So I didn't experience like the recent, plus like people get really crazy at those festivals as like as a participant, not as an artist. So, sure. But like there's been a couple like small ones on the north side that I participated in years ago. The key was this year I was going to be at a couple already, but they're all terminated. So we're trying to do virtual fests. Right now my agent's working on one and it's supposed to be in LA. I don't want to fly. So I mean, I really don't, not interested in getting sick. So we're kind of playing it by ear on what we're going to do. So we're going to see if the virtual can be like, can I go to a studio in Chicago and do it? Which we've seen a lot of other DJs do that, where they've gone to a studio here and they've done the stream from wherever they're at, out of, the city. So we might be doing that angle soon.
Okay. Right on. Sweet. Well, at least there's something, right? And, of all the music scenes, I feel like EDM has definitely been pushing the content, whereas other artists, it might be, that wouldn't really make sense to them, but with EDM and that fan base, the live streams have really taken off. Have there been any live streams that you've tuned into recently? Or
Yeah, so I noted that I was in DJ Times. I don't know if my agent told you. That was awesome. We'll talk about that in a minute. But I tuned into Carl Cox. So I really like Carl Cox. He's kind of like housey, chill house, love him. Sometimes he gets crazy. And then I've Morgan Page, which is very similar to me as Cascade. I love Morgan Page. So I listened to them on Beatport. I did listen to Peggy Goo. Her style is just different than what I like. So I mean, I'm not dissing her. I think she's, great at mixing, totally cool. Charlotte, I listen to as well. I'm not a heavy techno person, so me making a techno track is very hard. But I like sometimes how they just throw a banger after another, and it reminds me of the old rave days because I've DJed some of those back in the day when they were underground. So yeah, I mean, I've seen some of those that are pretty good. The only challenge I have is that some of them are fake.
Yeah.
I've seen some of them, it looks like they're pre-recorded, and there are some DJs that pre-record their stuff, just pretend, which I don't like. So sometimes when I start watching them, I don't want to keep watching.
Right. Yeah. No, there's been a few artists where I'm like, I definitely cannot miss that one. But overall, it's nice to have that for the fans, especially if, you spend good money to hopefully go to a festival and then have it not take place, but to have these DJs do a live stream of it is definitely really cool. And I know a lot of money has been raised as well through some of these digital festivals for good causes, which, the EDM community, I think, has been just awesome for in terms of that and going beyond the music to help create a better world, really. Which again is a huge reason why I love EDM and the entire scene, because it's a huge scene, and you have all these different subgenres, and even for the small amount of time that I've witnessed EDM kind of grow, it's been awesome to watch, and I'm excited for where it goes. Obviously everything's in question right now, but you have to have hope, right, that we'll get back to quote unquote normal and be able to have these great experiences again. What from a fan's standpoint, is there any live performance that you witnessed as a fan that kind of just blew you away or helped inspire you to go further with DJing?
What's funny? So I was always in love with Bad Boy Bill, like when I met, basically knew he existed. And I had backstage passes. Where were we at? The Aragon, I think it was.
Yep, I'm familiar.
And I had backstage passes, and I hadn't DJ'd with Terry Bristol yet, and she was there with Psychovich. So the guy that I mentioned, Tyrone, had got us backstage passes, and I got to meet him. And I shook his hand. I don't know if he remembers this, because I always post I adore him. Yeah. And his live performances are just so amazing. I mean, they're still good. Like, I've actually watched his too, which I will stay and listen forever. But his live performance just kills me, because I don't know if have you ever seen him?
I haven't, no.
Yeah, you need to check him out. So he does like 4 to 6, if not 8 sometimes, vinyl, like mixing all at the same time, like, and he scratches, like, he is badass.
Yeah.
So seeing him live and seeing him and I love being authentic. That's like my thing, be authentic. And seeing him be authentic and still be authentic now, I was so inspired by that concert. And like, I was invited to go hang out with them after, and it was like really like 4 a.m, and I was like, I gotta get home. Yeah. So I was invited because DJ Psychovich opened for him, and Terry Bristol's her partner. So they were like, let's go wine tasting. We can go to this wine bar. And I was like, it's like 4 a.m. I was like, no, I'm going home. And I had DJed the night before, so I'm already like messed up. Yeah. So I declined it, which I shouldn't have, because like, what a lifetime opportunity. What was I thinking? But yeah, so if you haven't checked him out, you guys are missing something, because that man is sick. I think he's like late 40s now, but he is still amazing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you really don't hear much. Like, so when I think of OG DJs, I think Daft Punk, and that's really the only.
Really?
Carl Cox too, but those are really the 2 names that kind of just stick out to me.
Benny come on! Benny Benassi is one of them.
Sorry, I don't mean to.
He's amazing. I gotta send you a list.
DJ Shadow, I think, is another one that is inspiration from the DJs that I'm inspired by nowadays. But it's
Fisher Spooner. Like, there's a bunch of cool DJs, man. Totally cool.
I'm sure, and that's, I mean, it's important to know your roots and where the music has come from, and this type of sound and different synths. Like, it's super important to know. But like I said, there hasn't really been EDM, in my opinion, really hasn't been mainstream. Really, it's kind of getting there now, but it's never been like the focal point. But that's why I think some of these older school DJs kind of fall through the cracks. But I'm glad that you're shedding light on them, because I would love to learn more about them. And they're the ones who I think, I mean, they paved the way, right? Like,
oh yeah.
And you had mentioned the underground scene a little bit. How is the underground scene in Chicago? Because I feel like it's big. But from not being, I'm not sure. How is it?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, so like Chicago's huge, right? It's not like New York. I love New York too, by the way. But Chicago's underground scene is more willing to allow new DJs, old DJs come play, have a good time. There's a lot of cool places that have a great club scene. I know they've cracked down a lot on certain licenses, which is annoying, but the scene's pretty big. You know, the club that I really wanted to go check out before COVID was Radius. They have a couple other clubs that I'm very familiar with. So they opened, so they had Carl Cox actually was their first DJ there. But the underground scene is really supportive of indie artists, which is nice. So like guest spots are typically pretty easy to get in bars and clubs and stuff. So but the days suck, right? You're going to be spinning on a Wednesday or Tuesday. You know, it's going to suck, but they're giving you an opportunity. So I think the underground scene in the city has always been a little bit more willing to explore maybe a non-known DJ.
Sure. Right on. Yeah. And here in Grand Rapids, our underground scene, it's Grand Rapids isn't a huge city by any means, but there's some spots that, you know, allow that local talent to come up. And I personally have been able to watch some DJs go from the local bars up to, you know, the main stage here at the intersection. And it's really cool to see, to see people be given that opportunity to play, you know, and obviously with everything that's happening right now, it's those spots are limited. And that makes me think kind of, you know, are some of these DJs who are kind of on that cusp or that middle ground of, you know, really making it, like, are they going to need to find something else? You know, like for you personally, has that kind of been a struggle? Like, is it going to be worth, you know, putting the time in now?
So I have an interesting background. So I'm like a total cybersecurity IT nerd. Getting my second master's degree in cybersecurity. I have first one in information systems, and I'm a VP for a consulting firm in Chicago.
Wow, nice.
So that's like and I have a family, so right. Yeah. So I have nice things because I have a really good career. If I would have stayed in the DJ game early in my 20s and not left, I would probably be close to a well-known DJ. Very, very, very close, because I was so on the cusp and I just let it go. Yeah. So I don't have those challenges. I do know some DJs that are known that are making less than 100K, right? And it's like, okay, can you survive on that? Probably, but like now you don't have gigs. So what are you doing? Unemployment's not paying you. You're probably doing some virtual streams super cheap, not at your normal rate. So I came out, I feel like my timing coming back has been perfect, because I'm in the state of, I can financially sustain myself without DJing. This is an investment, right? It's like a business.
Right.
And I'm in a position where people have time to listen to your stuff now, right?
Very true.
I have radio stations that are interested in my stuff that probably wouldn't even give me the time of day because they're now chasing other talent. Right. I have podcasts, right, that are interested in getting me on the air. I've grown my fan base tremendously from when I started in October. I have over 17,000 subscribers on Spotify. My songs have over 27,000 listens so far in less than 30 days. It's small numbers compared to the big guys, but it's like it's going up, which is huge.
Right. Yeah.
So I definitely feel like I'm in the luckier state than them. And I kind of talk about that on my Instagram. I'm always posting rambling videos if you want to listen to them. Compared to like these guys like that are really relying on all the music. And like I might be in a state, maybe my goal is like a 2-year plan to build my base again and get back up there. But I don't know if I'll ever stop doing like my other side of my career. Because I mean, I make really good money. I really I have a really good job. My company is phenomenal. They're really cool about like me cutting out early or doing stuff like this. They know I'm DJ. Like they're really supportive. So unless I become, super famous, which would be cool, then I probably would stop. But but outside of, if I come like a Tiesto or Martin Garrix, then like peace. But until then, if I can do, three gigs a week, do some festivals, take some time off to travel, which my company will let me do, I'm staying. Like I said, unless it becomes like a total flip side and I have like a total banger release and get signed by somebody.
Yeah. So like you said, I guess you didn't put all your eggs in one basket, which for some people that's what you have to do to get to that next stage. But it definitely worked out for you. Hindsight, right?
Yeah, it kind of did.
Yeah. So
and I love them both, right? So it's not like I have a job that I hate. Like I actually love them both, which is always hard for me to say I'm giving up one and the other. Like I feel like I can do them both. That's just kind of how I feel.
Yeah, which is good. So let's see here. What else could we mention? Is there anything that you specifically wanted to talk about, or that you want to bring up?
Yeah, I mean, I think for so a lot of indie artists have challenges with like getting out there and like doing things like this. And like, I think that I want to give some people some pointers, because just because like you heard like, oh, she's got a career, she's got money, she can do whatever she wants, it's not always true. Like I have a family I support, right? Mm-hmm. The reality is that you can start small. It's all about being consistent and riding the wave. So I have this whole model, and it's kind of, and I've been a business owner before too, and I kind of did the same method coming as a DJ, and I learned that as a DJ when I became popular in the city before I left the scene for a bit. The biggest thing is reach out to every and anybody. Doesn't matter if you're good, if you're bad. If you're going to release tracks, though, they got to be good. You should do some crowd reviews or services that do that. You should make sure that's professionally mixed and mastered. You should invest in that. That's my biggest tip. The second one is when you reach out to every and anybody, you don't necessarily always need an agent. It kind of is important, though, because I like in DJ Times, okay, good example. They were like, who represents her? Oh, like if I said nobody, they probably wouldn't put me on the spotlight, right? I was listed right below Zed. Like I died when they said they were going to do it. I was in a lockdown series. I was like, what? That's so awesome. It's so badass, right? I was so excited. And then like Broke FM mix dropped that same day. And then my song blew up. I had tons of plays. I was getting I had 5,000 listens that day on my song. I was like, this is badass. Yeah. But I think the thing is that find a talent agency. You need one. Even if you don't want to split money with them, at that point, you want to do it on your own. The only way to get noticed, as far as like getting yourself out there with podcasts, magazine write-ups, I've been in a couple so far, is you got to have a talent agency, because if you don't, they don't feel like you're invested. They feel like you're a nobody. Mm-hmm. They might not give you the time of day. Mm-hmm. And then obviously, don't give up. I mean, I've had some people that have talked shit about my stuff, and I'm like, fuck off. I don't care. Like, right? You have to please everybody, right? I've had people who are like, oh, I don't like her voice. I'm like, yeah, well, fucking cares, right? It's cool. Right. Like my voice is fine. Like, I like my voice. That's all that matters. Right. I think the thing is you got to believe in yourself, like 100%, because all the other shit is noise. Like, if people think I suck at DJing, which I haven't heard that yet, so I don't know, maybe I don't. But at the end of the day, I believe in myself. I believe I'm going to get somewhere. I have a really strong feeling that, like, my next couple songs are really going to be really good. I've been growing them up, which is what I'm showing in my stats. So you just got to believe in yourself, and all the other shit, fuck it, because it doesn't matter. You're the one that's going to cause yourself to success or failure. And that's even outside DJ. I think that's why I've been so successful in my career, is that I've never listened to anybody that said, you're not going to do it. You're not going to be successful. Like, I was a director in my 20s. Like, sorry, I'm doing it.
Right. Yeah, no, I think that is an extremely important point that you made, because especially in today's culture, there are so many what I like to call trolls out there, who hide behind their screen and say all these nasty things with no repercussions, right? But you as an individual have to just block that out. And just more recently, I've been off Facebook, Twitter. Like, I can't handle that, you know what I mean? And I almost feel like you really need to know what you're getting yourself into when it comes to putting yourself out there, right? You need to be able to take those nasty comments and just be able to brush them away, because they're going to happen no matter what. And like you said, you can't please everybody. But to be able to, read a nasty comment and just be like, well, I have all these other comments of people saying, wow, you did a great job, and focus on that, and just don't let the haters' negativity get to you. Because for me personally, I have a problem if someone has a problem with me. Like I like to please people, but you also have to understand that you're not going to be able to please everybody, and it's okay for some people not to like you. You just got to stay true to yourself, and live life the way you know how to live it. And if people don't like it, that's their problem. That's your life is not their life, right? Yeah. And I think that message is extremely important, for sure. But yeah, you gave some great tips, for sure. I have a couple buddies who are just getting into the scene, and especially right now, it's so hard to set yourself apart, because there are limited opportunities. But if you have that drive, never ever give up. And especially with you, you took a break, but so what was the kind of catalyst to get you back into it? Did we touch on that?
Yeah, no, we didn't.
Okay.
So I took a break because I let my heart destroy my career. So obviously it's past relationship stuff. And I decided to do a different project because I was like, this DJ scene it's reminding me of too much of the past. And all these people that knew the relationship I was in and knew each other, I feel like people hate me, and I felt really like negative energy around certain venues, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I left.
Yep.
So coming back, I just always felt so empty in the band. Like I just felt like I love playing music. I love that I can play all these instruments, right? I love thrashing on guitar. It's my favorite thing. Mm-hmm. But I just always felt so empty. I was like, man, I just feel so empty. And I was like, anytime I look at like old clippings of myself in a magazine or a news article or look up my name on the web, I would smile, and like pictures, I'd be like, why did I let that go? I was so good. Why did I do that? So I talked to my wife at the time, and she's obviously still my wife. I don't know why I said at the time, but anyway, I talked to my wife, and I decided it's our anniversary day. She's going to kill me. We've been married for 4 years. I've been with her for 13. She's going to probably kill me after seeing what do you do? Yeah, I'm a horrible.
Happy anniversary.
Edit this out. But I talked to my wife, and she's like, you were a good DJ. She's like, and you made good dance music. She's like, why don't you try it again and see what happens? Mm-hmm. I said, really? I'm kind of older, right? Like I'm older. She's like, you don't look old. She's like, you're still fun. I was like, okay. So she supports me 100%. Totally love it. So I came back because I really felt, and then when I came back, I loved it. So I actually signed up with the franchise F45. So I was DJing for F45 when I first came back before COVID. So I was spinning at their gyms every weekend. Totally cool. Loved it. I thought I was like, oh, why am I spinning at a gym? I'm used to big events, right? But I was like, there's a reason. I was like, I need to feel comfortable coming back, being gone for so long, right? Because I was gone for 5 years, 6 years, okay? Mm-hmm. So I was like, I have to feel comfortable. And I fell in love with spinning for these people. And what's funny is some of them said, you're a different DJ. I said, yeah, I'm a club DJ. They're like, no, you're just different. I said, what does that mean? They're like, you can actually DJ. You're on fire all the time. I love it. So it's built up my confidence. And then we started doing all those mixes and stuff and getting them out to get me in bigger places. And then that fell apart because of COVID. But that's why I came back, because I feel so whole DJing. I feel like you can see it in my videos. I'm doing live streams. I feel so good. I feel so good about it. So I can't let that go. I mean, I'll probably be DJing. I told my wife I'll probably be DJing in the room when I'm 60. I'll have arthritis and everything, but it's cool. I'll still be spinning. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Your finals will still be a thing,
Still work. Figure it out.
Oh man, that's awesome. That's really awesome.
Yeah.
So I think I've hit pretty much everything I wanted to talk about. Is there anything else you want to bring up, or?
Yeah, I mean, just check out my website, djgstring.com. Has all the goods. My release, Ain't Nobody, coming out September 25th. If you haven't subscribed to Spotify and you want to check me out, subscribe, because you'll get notified when my track comes out. And then other than that, I mean, thanks for everybody's support. Thank you, Taylor, for having me on the show and being so fun and friendly. Really appreciate that.
Of course. Yeah, no problem. Thank you so much for joining us. I can't wait to see what you have in store the rest of this year and the rest of your career. Really, we look forward to seeing you and maybe having you back on later on in the podcast. So,
all right on. Thank you so much.
yeah, of course. Thank you very much.
All right.